A penny for your thoughts, better yet, your 2 cents. We are all currently or will be in the near future taxpayers. And as taxpayers, you should be made aware of the nation's national debt. The national debt, you might say, well, that's the nation's national debt, has nothing to do with me. It does whenever you start to pay taxes. The nation's debt affects us as taxpayers. It affects us as consumers with interest rates on credit cards, car loans, houses, mortgages, things of that nature. And it also weakens the job market. Nobody wants to work for the rest of their lives, right? Okay, so we're going to talk about something very simple that would ultimately alter the course of, or could alter the course of future generations to come, saving them from inflation and or possibly economy collapses. Today we're going to talk about the production of the penny and how it should cease to exist. You might be thinking to yourself right now, how can a penny possibly affect the nation's debt? And I'm going to explain to you why. The U.S. Mint, who is subsidized by the U.S. Treasury, has a direct effect on the nation's debt. The U.S. Treasury and the production of the minting of coins is applied strictly to the nation's debt annually. And while the seigniorage or the profit on coins minted every single year is applied directly to the nation's debt, it could be significantly higher by stopping the production of the penny. In 2019 alone, the seigniorage or profits on coins minted and sold to banks and financial institutions was $318 million. That $318 million could have been $421 million that was applied to the national debt if the mint were to cease production of the penny and the nickel. The nickel we'll get to. The penny is more of a nuisance right now, and it needs to stop, basically. In 2019, there were 7 billion pennies minted in that year alone. You think, great, 7 billion pennies. Not great. It actually cost 0.197 cents to mint a single penny. That's almost twice as much as the face value of the coin itself. So 7 billion pennies minted in that year equates to $70 million worth of pennies, but that also equates to $138 million worth of production cost, or a loss of roughly $68 million in the year of 2019 alone, simply by minting a penny. Now, I'm not a math major by any means, but taking a larger than life national deficit and applying an extra $70 million to it annually, I would say would put a pretty big dent in it. Some people argue that if you were to stop the production of the penny, that it would cost us as consumers more money. And in actuality, it would cost us as consumers more money, but only on cash transactions. Cash transactions would have what they call a rounding tax applied to it, to where it would round up to the nearest 5 cents, because you could no longer make change for anything other than 5 cents if they cease the production of the penny. And in actuality, when is the last time that you stopped when you saw a penny on the ground and picked it up for anything other than good luck? I mean, it doesn't happen. It's not worth your time to stop and pick up a penny off the ground. It actually costs more money than the minimum wage to stop and pick a penny up off the ground, if you were to break it down on the time that it took to stop and pick up a penny, which is roughly almost 6 seconds to pick up a penny that you saw on the ground. Don't get me wrong, the mint was profitable in 2019, has been every year, but that's because of the production of other coins. The penny cost almost 2 cents to produce. The nickel cost almost 8 cents to produce. That's the next to go. But dimes, quarters, and half dollars, not really many half dollars, but those coins are significantly cheaper to make. I think a quarter costs like 9 cents to make, and a dime costs 2 cents to make, something like that. So the production of coins in itself is profitable. However, it is hindered by the production of pennies, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Some people would say, why don't we just change the composition of a penny and make it cheaper to produce? Well, the Union Credit Times reported that the U.S. Mint, has actually looked for cheaper alternatives for penny production for many years now and have been unable to come up with any cheaper methods to produce a penny. We as a society can lessen the loss that the mint suffers every year on penny production by not hoarding pennies or saving pennies, or if you saw a penny on the ground, if you were to pick it up and keep it into circulation, that would cut down on the loss that the mint suffers every year from minting these pennies. However, a loss is a loss, and if a penny has no meaning outside of it being historically, like historical significance to the American people, then why lose money on something that doesn't matter, that you walk past on the street, if you drop in your car, you don't go searching for it. If you dropped $100 bill in your car, you would go looking for it. But if you drop a penny, nobody really cares. The penny is just the first thing to be eliminated. The nickel will soon follow, as it almost cost 8 cents to produce a nickel. I think the statistic was in 2019 alone, the U.S. lost $103 million on the production of pennies and nickels in that year alone, and have for decades now. I mean, you do the math and apply that towards the national deficit, and it's significantly lower. Some of you may not agree with me necessarily on this, but newsflash, they're actually stopping the production of the penny in 2023, and that's the first domino to fall. The nickel will soon follow after that. I hope you learn something about this and will agree with my case to cease the production of a penny. Thanks for listening.